Tokyo, Japan, December 10th, 1968. The rain is falling hard. The city is alive with the hum of morning traffic, umbrellas bobbing on sidewalks, workers rushing to their posts. At exactly 9:30 a.m., a large black Nissan Cedric luxury sedan rolls out of the garage of the Japan Trust Bank. Its windshield wipers beat steadily against the downpour. Inside the car, 4 men sit in tense silence. They are unarmed. The car they are riding in is not armored, not marked, and has no police escort. In the trunk, sealed inside 3 metal cases, is 300 million yen, the equivalent of over $800,000 in 1968 money. That is nearly $7 million in today's terms. The 4 men know what they are carrying. They also know something else, something that has been sitting in the back of their minds since Friday. A threat, a letter, an ominous warning that someone out there knows exactly what they are doing today. They try to push that thought aside as the car moves through the rain-soaked streets toward the Toshiba factory in Fuchu, a suburb of West Tokyo. The mission is simple: drive the money to the factory, hand it over, come back. A routine delivery, a routine they have likely done before. But today, someone has been watching, someone has been planning, and that someone has been waiting for this exact moment. The car turns onto the final stretch of road, a long, quiet stretch running alongside the towering gray walls of Fuchu Prison. On one side, those massive prison walls. On the other, apartment buildings and patches of wooded land. The area is quiet, lonely, removed from the bustle of the main streets. They are just 200 meters from the factory. Almost there. The driver glances into his rearview mirror. A motorcycle is approaching, fast, and on the motorcycle is a man wearing a police officer's uniform. The officer signals. Pull over. The driver obeys. He rolls down his window as the officer climbs off his bike and rushes toward the car. Rain is still falling. "What's the matter?" the driver asks. The officer's face is urgent, almost panicked. "I just got word that your bank and your manager's house have been blown up." The 4 men in the car go pale. The officer proceeds to say, "We have reason to believe this car is booby-trapped. Get out! Run!" The bank employees scramble. 4 grown men, trained bank employees, fall over each other getting out of that car. The officer drops to the ground and crawls underneath the vehicle, pretending to search for explosives. Then it happens. Flames shoot out from under the car. Thick black smoke billows up into the rain. "Get down!" the officer shouts, jumping to his feet. "It's about to blow!" The 4 men run. They dive behind a low wall on the side of the road, hearts hammering, breath ragged. They peer back over the top of the wall just in time to see the police officer climb into the driver's seat of their car and pull away. The picture the 4 employees painted in their heads was of a brave man, risking his life to drive the car to safety. They wait and wait. The explosion never comes. Slowly, cautiously, the 4 men rise from behind the wall and look around. Where their car once stood, there is nothing but the smoldering remnants of what appears to be a safety flare. They walk over to the policeman's motorcycle. They look at it closely now. The paint job is crude. The police markings are fake. The hardware on the bike looks like it was put together in someone's garage. The truth crashes down on them like a wave. They were not saved. They were robbed. In less than 3 minutes, someone had just walked away with 300 million yen. And he had done it without a single weapon, without a single shot fired, without a single person getting hurt. It is, at that moment, the biggest robbery in Japanese history. Before we go any further, please take a second to hit that subscribe button and leave a like. It helps the channel grow and also keeps us motivated. Now, let's go back to where all of this really began. 4 days before the robbery, The general manager of the Kokubunji branch of the Japan Trust Bank is sitting at his desk going through his mail. It is an ordinary Friday morning, until it isn't. He picks up an envelope. Inside is a letter unlike anything he has ever received. Some of the words are written by hand. Others appear to have been cut from newspapers and magazines and pasted onto the paper, a technique designed to make the writing impossible to trace. The message is clear and threatening. The writer demands that the bank send a female employee carrying 3 million yen, roughly $8,500 at the time, to a specified location by 5 o'clock the next afternoon. If the bank does not comply, the writer threatens to blow up the bank manager's home and the bank itself. The manager's hands are steady, but his mind is racing. He contacts the police immediately. The police take the threat seriously, at least at first. They set up an ambush at the drop location, positioning 50 officers around the area. They wait through the afternoon and into the evening. No one shows up. Whoever wrote the letter, if they ever intended to collect, does not appear. The police make a decision. They declare the letter a hoax and close the investigation. In fairness to them, this was not an unusual conclusion to draw. Japan in 1968 is a country going through tremendous social upheaval. Massive protests, workers' strikes, rising tensions between a booming corporate class and ordinary people who feel left behind. Extortion threats against banks and businesses are common. Most of them come to nothing. A letter like this, with no follow-through, fits the pattern perfectly. But the manager does not forget. He calls a meeting with his employees and warns them. Be alert. Something may still be coming. Watch yourselves this week. And here is the key detail that makes everything fall into place. It is bonus season in Japan. In 1968, salaries and bonuses in Japan are paid entirely in cash. Not by check, not by bank transfer, in physical cash. And because companies across Japan are preparing to distribute these bonuses to their workers, banks across the country are organizing the movement of enormous sums of money. All of it in paper bills, packed into metal cases, driven through the city streets in ordinary cars. The Japan Trust Bank has been asked to deliver the cash bonuses for the workers of the Toshiba Electronics factory in Fuchu. The amount they need to transport, 300 million yen. 3 metal cases, 100 million yen each. The plan is simple. 4 employees will drive the money to the factory on the morning of Tuesday, December 10th. They will use a regular, unmarked car. No police escort, no armored vehicle. At the time, this is common practice. Japanese banks believe that an unmarked car is safer than an armored one because it does not draw attention. The thinking goes, if no one knows the money is there, no one will try to take it. Someone, however, knows exactly where it is going, exactly when it is leaving, and exactly which road it will travel to get there. On the morning of December 10th, that someone is already waiting. Within minutes of the 4 shell-shocked bank employees reporting the robbery, the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department, known as the MPD, goes into full emergency mode. A state of emergency is declared across the entire city of Tokyo. Within hours, checkpoints spring up at intersections across the capital. Every car is stopped, every driver questioned. Officers fan out across the city in what they are certain will be a swift and successful dragnet. The thief could not have gotten far. They have acted fast. The city is locked down. But a full day passes. The checkpoints yield nothing. No arrests, no leads. The culprit, whoever he is, has somehow slipped through a net that covers one of the largest cities in the world. Now the investigators must turn their attention to the crime scenes, and what they find there is stunning. The thief has not simply driven the bank car away and disappeared. Forensic investigators piece together a meticulous sequence of events. After driving off in the black Nissan Cedric, the thief takes the car to a second location, likely a quiet spot he had chosen well in advance. There, he switches the cash from the bank car into a second car. This second car had been stolen earlier. He then drives to a third location and switches vehicles again. A third car, also stolen, also prepared in advance. At each location, he places a canvas cover over the car he is leaving behind. This is a common thing to do in Japan at the time. People cover their parked cars to protect them from the weather. Because of this, the abandoned cars blend right in. Nobody notices them for quite some time. 3 crime scenes, 3 separate locations, each requiring its own full forensic investigation. At each scene, there is an almost overwhelming amount of physical evidence. The fake police motorcycle, items of clothing, everyday objects, personal items. So much evidence scattered across 3 locations that the investigators start to suspect something unsettling. The thief left this evidence on purpose. He scattered it deliberately to slow them down, to force them to chase 100 different threads at once. Despite this suspicion, the police begin the long, painstaking process of cataloging and analyzing every single piece of evidence they have found. It is slow work, exhausting work, and it produces nothing. Not a single piece of evidence leads them to a viable suspect. The police have 4 witnesses, the 4 bank employees who were robbed. Each of them saw the fake officer up close, at least briefly. Investigators sit with them and painstakingly reconstruct the man's appearance. A composite image, a hand-drawn likeness of the suspect, is produced and distributed. 780,000 copies of this composite image are printed and distributed across Japan. They are posted on community boards in neighborhoods, handed to local businesses, pinned up in police stations from one end of the country to the other. Officers take the image door to door, showing it to residents and asking, "Do you know anyone who looks like this?" Then comes one of the darkest chapters in this entire story. Not long after the composite image begins circulating, attention falls on a 19-year-old young man. He is referred to in the records as Boy S. His full name is withheld because of his age. Boy S has 2 things working against him from the very beginning. First, he is the son of a Tokyo motorcycle police officer. Investigators theorize that whoever pulled off this robbery had inside knowledge of police procedures. They knew how to dress like a cop. They knew how to act like one. They knew the right words to say to make 4 grown men abandon a car full of money. The son of a motorcycle officer, some argue, would know all of these things. Second, and more damaging, Boy S resembles the composite image. The investigation zeroes in on him. At one point, the 4 bank employees who had been robbed are brought to Boyce's home to take a look at him. They look at this teenager standing before them and say, "Yes, this could be the person who robbed us." Boyce has no alibi to offer. The police pressure builds. The media attention is intense. The eyes of the entire nation are on this case. 5 days after the robbery, on December 15th, 1968, Boy S is found dead. He has taken his own life by swallowing potassium cyanide, a poison that kills within minutes. He is 19 years old. His father, a serving police officer, insists to anyone who will listen that his son is innocent. In the weeks that follow, investigators take a harder look at the evidence connecting Boy S to the crime. The money is never found at his home. The physical evidence at the crime scenes does not connect to him. And in a devastating blow to the earlier identification, the 4 bank employees admit that they never truly got a clear look at the robber's face. The conditions were chaotic. The rain, the fear, the urgency, their descriptions, and by extension the composite image, are far less reliable than anyone had thought. The police officially cleared Boy S of the crime. They retract the composite image entirely, the very image that had been the foundation of their investigation since day one. It is a moment that haunts the case to this day. Even as the investigation stumbles, the Tokyo MPD does not give up. What unfolds over the next several years is the largest criminal investigation in the history of Japan. Consider the numbers. 780,000 copies of the suspect's composite photograph are distributed across the country. 110,000 names end up on the list of persons of interest, people who, for one reason or another, come to the attention of investigators. 170,000 police officers participate in the investigation at various stages. To put that in perspective, that is more than the entire population of many mid-sized cities. Investigators lift dozens of fingerprints from the crime scenes. Those prints need to be compared against the records on file. The fingerprint database contains 6 million individual prints. Officers sit down and compare them one, by hand. 6 million fingerprints. Not a single match is found. Much of the staggering cost of the investigation comes from something that sounds simple on the surface, but is brutally labor-intensive in practice: going door to door. Across neighborhoods, across districts, across the entire city and beyond. Officers knock on doors, show photos, ask questions, take notes, and file reports, over and over again, for years. When it is all added up, the cost of the investigation reaches 900 million yen. Let that sink in for a moment. The thief stole 300 million yen. Japan spent 900 million yen trying to catch him. 3 times the amount stolen poured into an investigation that ultimately produced no answers. Other suspects emerge and fade over the years. A 26-year-old man is identified by a major newspaper as a possible perpetrator and is arrested, but not on robbery charges. He has an airtight alibi. On the morning of December 10, 1968, he was sitting in a proctored examination with witnesses and documentation to prove it. The arrest is later found to have been made improperly, and the officer who made it faces accusations of abusing his power. In 1975, just before the statute of limitations was set to expire, another man was arrested on an unrelated charge. He is found to have a large sum of money that investigators cannot account for. He was 18 years old at the time of the robbery. When police ask him to explain where the money came from, he says nothing. But they cannot prove it came from the 1968 robbery. They have no hard evidence. He walks free. That same month, December 1975, the statute of limitations on the robbery expires. 7 years have passed. Under Japanese law, this means that even if the thief is identified, he cannot be prosecuted for the crime. The thief, wherever he is now legally untouchable. Here is what makes this case genuinely extraordinary, and what has kept people talking about it for over half a century. In 1988, 20 years after the robbery, the thief's civil liabilities also expire. That means he can now come forward, admit to the robbery publicly, even write a book about it, and face no legal consequences whatsoever. No criminal prosecution, no civil lawsuit. Nothing. He could tell the whole world exactly how he did it, and he would be completely free. No one has ever come forward. Think about that. A man stole the equivalent of nearly $7 million in today's money, pulled off the most audacious heist in Japanese history, watched the entire country search desperately for him for 7 years, and then, once he was completely safe to speak, chose to remain silent forever. Why? That question has fueled decades of theories. Some experts believe the thief had to have been a police officer, or at minimum the son of one. The way he moved, the way he spoke, the procedures he followed, it was too convincing to be an act. He knew exactly how a motorcycle officer behaved during a traffic stop. He knew the uniform. He knew the language. He carried it off without a single hesitation, in the rain, with 4 frightened men staring at him. Others argue that whoever did this had inside knowledge of the bank. He knew the route the car would take. He knew what day the money was moving. He knew about the threatening letter that had already primed the bank employees to be afraid. The letter sent 4 days earlier, the one the police dismissed as a hoax, may well have been part of the plan. A way to plant fear in the employees' minds so that when the fake officer showed up and started talking about bombs, they would believe him instantly. Some theories go further still. One popular theory suggests the perpetrator had connections to the United States military, which had a significant presence in Japan at the time, and used those connections to get the money out of the country entirely, which would explain why it was never found. Another theory, made famous by a film adaptation, suggests the thief was the son of a powerful politician who was shielded from investigation by his father's influence. In the 1980s, a journalist claimed to have tracked down the actual perpetrator, a man named Yuji Ogata, who had apparently admitted to the crime privately. The story briefly electrified the public, but it collapsed quickly when Ogata's own family came forward to say that after the robbery, Ogata had been borrowing money from them because he was deeply in debt. A man who had just stolen the equivalent of millions of dollars does not need to borrow money from his relatives. Ogata, it turned out, was well known for making up stories. The thief has never been identified. The record set by the 300 million yen robbery stood for over 40 years before being broken in 2011 by a separate heist involving 600 million yen. But ask anyone in Japan which robbery they remember, which one still captivates them. And the answer is always the same. December 10th, 1968. The fake police officer in the pouring rain. The 3 minutes that changed everything. That is the story of Japan's greatest unsolved robbery. If you enjoyed this video, there is one small thing I need from you. Hit that like button, share this with someone who loves a great mystery, and subscribe if you haven't already. Every like and share helps this channel grow and lets us keep bringing you stories like this one. We will see you in the next one.